Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This being a show where I talk about crime dramas that I like. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of Person of Interest. So this is our second episode of Person of Interest this week. I mean, obviously, I'm just saying that in case you do come across this video and you're just like, oh, like, wait, things seem a little weird. Just in case, if you didn't know, there was an episode Monday. In case you somehow came across this video, it's like, oh, I saw Tuesday's episode, but I didn't know there was an episode Monday. There was an episode Monday, so if you don't want to get spoiled, I'd make sure, I mean, obviously, hopefully you've seen this episode I'm particularly talking about, but if you missed yesterday's episode, make sure you go check that out before you even hear anything talking about what's going down in this episode. Just kind of want to throw that in there. Anyway, in this episode, we have, obviously, kind of the team splitting up a little bit like normal. We have John being kind of the main focus of this episode. We have his it keeps bouncing between now and 2010, specifically his time with the CIA. We see another episode with him and his old partner. We already know what happens to her in present day time. I mean, not necessarily present, but according to the series, we already know what happened to her in the course of the series. Present, I mean. But interestingly enough, I thought it was interesting when I was like, when you finally see their boss, it's like Keith David. It's just, I don't know. I adore Keith David because like he has the most distinct. He's one of those, for one, just like him as an actor, just like seeing him pop up anything, and because he has that damn voice, that is like, I don't like, I wish I had that voice. He has like the deepest, most amazing voice. I wish I had a voice like Keith David. I'm sorry, but that's just there's a tad bit of information. Because I kept wondering in this episode, it's like, okay, we keep cutting back to that. What significance does it have to do with? Like, I figured, like, because the latest number that John ends up coming across, I was like, okay, it's got the CIA involved. It's like, okay, so that's the only connection to it. It's like, no, it runs a little deeper because this number this week is actually connected to that mission that he did back in the day, and it was basically that John, because basically this number, Duncan, that's his last name. Basically was looking to his brother's death, and John ended up finding out, oh, it's the guy I killed all those years ago on a mission for the CIA. I did like the fact of the matter is that his boss, his name's Bells, right, ended up, Keith David ended up finding out his identity because he saw the way John handled himself. I mean, see, he was wearing a ski mask and thing with the car. He's like, yep. He's like, well, who was that guy? A ghost. So it's like you could see it instantly when he kind of locked eyes with John. It's like he kind of figured it out then, but it was concrete the moment he saw like the way the car was in. But basically Duncan was looking into his brother's death. He was told that his brother died, but wasn't able to really get any real information about how he died. Basically, him and his brother kind of always had a strained relationship after their parents died. It was just them. Something, side note, interesting, he's like brought up the fact is, oh, do you have any siblings? And John said no. Which last episode, there was a thing that said like, oh, he has a sister that's deceased. Which came up that apparently he was adopted. Which, has it come up? I don't remember anything about him being adopted or coming up again before. So maybe those were talking specifically about his adopted. Was he lying, or did he like have an adopted sister, but he didn't have like a biological sister or something? I don't know. Maybe I just read too much into that situation. But anyway, Duncan looking into his brother's death. And basically that's why he was looking into all those CIA files. And the reason why the CIA was coming after him was because they were worried that basically he was looking into kind of the shady business they were associated with. Basically the mission was there was some weaponry. I forgot what it was specifically, but there was some kind of weaponry that was stolen that kind of disappeared. And basically the brother back then was suspected of doing that. It turns out basically he was hired to do it because basically he took some money to make sure that the weapons didn't get into, even at the time they were allied with someone else, to even get into their allies' hands. He took the money. Because John ended up shooting him, and I was like, oh man, John's just going to like regret what he's done. That's what this whole thing is about. Because he didn't even tell Duncan the truth. He never tells him the truth. And he kind of tells him, your brother was a hero. He fought where he believed in. And just a couple like days after we met with him, he ended up dying because he went to a village that ended up getting hit. And I was like, oh, John, you're lying to him. It's just like, and even Keith David like backed him up and was like, yeah, that's true. Because it's basically saying, like, Duncan didn't want, to find out how his brother died. He just wanted to make sure that his brother died a good guy, which I was like, yeah, your brother died a good guy. He wasn't a bad guy because, like, he wasn't, he didn't sell, he didn't have any connection to those stolen weapons. And, after, it cut back to it, and it's like his partner opens up the case and lifts up, and there's a false bottom to it. Freaking money. It's like his brother was dirty. I was like, oh my God. And she's asking, like, so how'd you know the case had, a bottom to it? He was like, I didn't. It's just he was too basically defensive. Basically, he said one particular line that set John off, that basically the government owed him. He's like, if he truly believed in what he was doing, if he truly still believed in what he was doing, he wouldn't have said, like, oh, the government owes me for all I've done. It would have been kind of like a good soldier and just been like, everything I'm doing is in the service of my country. If the fact is my country has to question me like this, I don't know. Like, John was able to see through his BS, and that's why he killed him. But like, it's kind of sad Duncan won't ever know the truth, but it's kind of better in that regard. I was like, it's still something like John has to live with the fact that he killed that guy, but it's like, it's not like he was 100% an innocent guy, but it just adds a different perspective to it, because it's like, John's killed a lot of people. Once again, last episode, we found out there's at least 62 people that have disappeared or died that are connected to him, and that's at the very least. So, it kind of adds perspective, because it's like, oh, like, every person he's ever killed has had a family, so it kind of puts a face to this, like, it legitimizes it, because it's like, you already know that, but it's kind of like, you're focused on a mission, but, now that he's actually seen the face, it puts a face to the whole situation, so. And that ends up leading to John breaking up with his girlfriend, the doctor. I can't ever remember her name. I did like the beginning of the episode where basically he's dealing with a number, like, because they're basically having a date at the restaurant, meet the family, meet the parents type of date, and basically he's dealing with the number situation. He comes out the bathroom and just like, oh, hi. It's just, and to me, I'll admit, it's the weirdest thing seeing him in a relationship, because we've never seen him in a relationship. We've seen women that he's come across that are interested in him. There was that one number that he was protecting. She basically like said, like, oh, we can't go out anymore, John, after everything's said and done, because she's like, I'm looking for someone who's more adventurous and dangerous, and you're just, you're a nice guy, but you're just kind of living a simple life. And it's just like, she didn't know what John was doing for her the entire episode. I forgot her name. She's the lady that's kind of definitely got a thing for, I can only remember her by her the actress's name. She's played by Paige Turco. That lady, I can't remember her name. I'm drawing a blank for her. And Carter, they're like the only women like he's shown interest in, and anything's kind of semi happened from. It was actually Paige Turco's character that kind of brought it up. The fact that it's like, you're never going to have a relationship with her, because it's like you're from two different worlds. You can't have that normal relationship, and that kind of comes back in this episode, because even his partner is like, back in the day was like, do you know why Bill's Keith David? Like I said, I don't know why I try to pretend like, oh, I'm gonna call him by his name. It's like, no, I'm gonna call him by Keith David, just because it's simpler that way. It's like, do you know why he chose us? Basically, because we have no connection, that we're gonna focus on our mission. Basically, being who we are, we would never have that normal life. Because basically, like, your family's dead, and you even walked away from your girlfriend. So it's kind of like, yeah, you're kind of dead set on this. And essentially, John was kind of like, yeah, I didn't have a choice. She's like, yeah, because we do what we do. We're good at our job, because we don't have anything to go back to. We don't have anything to kind of tether us to like a normal life, because we're not meant to have a normal life. And so that the whole thing kind of ended up leading to him breaking up with his girlfriend at the end of the episode, which is kind of sad. Like I said, it's weird seeing him in a relationship, but it's also like, because the way things are, he needs to. The man he was in the past wasn't necessarily a good man, but he needs to be that man in the case of this war, because it's like, she's like, you don't have to be that person. He's like, yeah, I do. With the whole everything he's doing with the machine, he has to be that person, and that person doesn't get to have a happy life. He doesn't get to have a normal life. And she's like, maybe one day you'll get to be someone else, and you'll be able to be with that person. It can't be right now, and it can't be with me. So she kind of kisses him and says goodbye, which to me, I interpret that as possibility of how this is going to end. Once it's all said and done, John's going to have a new identity and lead a normal life, when it's all said and done. Maybe, I don't know. That's me being very positive. Like I said, once again, I don't know. There's a pessimist inside of me that's kind of like, from crap I've read, that's kind of made me think it's like, it won't end that well, but it's like, who knows? Another side of this episode is basically Root, package deliver. Was she like a UPS driver? And basically, she constantly has to deal with her. I guess he's her partner in this episode was like her supervisor. Basically, because he kept hitting on her. Basically, she's delivering all these different. There was some stuff that basically her job was connected to Samaritan, because obviously it was given to her by the machine. And basically what she was delivering was some systems that basically it's the malware that, that Samaritan is spreading around. Basically UPS is how it's, helping deliver it so fast and widely across. And basically this malware, in the beginning it seemed like it was just a simple spyware. But, because that was initially just Harold's inspection of it. He couldn't really break it apart any more than that until Root decided to kind of set up an individual computer and activate the malware on it. He's just kind of like, why would you do that? Because, he told her not to. But she's like, in this situation, you have to, it's like a risk reward situation. You have to take risk in a war like this, because if you don't, there's no other way we're going to win. So it's kind of interesting, because it kind of gets brought back to Harold, because Harold's like, he's not 100% willing to do whatever it takes to win the war, but Root's like, that's the only way you're going to win this. It's like, you have to get that in your mind, that we have to do whatever it takes. We might be putting ourselves in danger, but she's like, she set up the situation so it's like, there won't be any, problem, because basically the malware would basically lead Samaritan straight to them in the machine. But it's like, you need to take the risk, because if you don't, it'll lead to us not winning this. So it's just kind of, we have to do whatever it takes to win the war. I did like how she handled her supervisor, because Harold got on the truck with her and was looking like, what happened to him? Basically, she knocked him out, and then he was kind of waking up again, and then she knocked him out again. And it's just like, and even Harold's kind of like, I guess he'll know not to be essentially hitting on you as much as he was before. It's something that, fellas, something, this episode can teach you. Is basically, when a lady shows no interest in you, that means to let it go. Don't keep going. You'll be in a situation like this, constantly being having packages, constantly being knocked over the head, constantly with packages, and left to knocked out. And I love how when it was all said and done, like he was waking up again, and she's like, "Oh my God, what happened to you?" Like nothing. It's just like, I love how she handled the situation. She ended up getting fired from that job because apparently it's like, for not securing the packages, because it made it seem like he kept getting knocked out from packages that were falling off the shelves and stuff like that. So, really interested to see where we go from this next episode, because like I said, John's leaving his quote-unquote normal, any attempt at a normal life behind until like this is all, done. And, doing whatever it takes. Like, because basically the malware also acts as, basically, it completely rewrites all the data on a person's computer, and it's collecting and leading to something. But what that is leading to, they don't know, so we don't know. So hopefully it's something we'll find out in the near future. So kind of interesting to see where everything goes from here. But that's really all I want to talk about in this episode. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love light to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.